Good evening and welcome to Edessa the Dark Crusade, Season 2. Tonight we have the sweet little innocent Mina making her way to the Merchants District, a place that is, as far as she understands, the domain of Clan La Sombra, which makes sense because she is on her way to visit Ancilla she has met a couple of times now since arriving to the city. Who is also so innocent and lovely. Sister Madeline has invited her to her haven, and at this point, Mina just seems to. Well, she will walk up to a house. It's not like it's alone, like standing alone. It's just one of several merchant houses. It's somewhat low key. It's not like resplendent or stands out from the others, but this is definitely it. And there is one of the people you saw, the woman, uh, fairly tall woman, the one who had scars. She seems to be standing outside and waiting for you. Maybe. Who knows?
Well, you know, whether she meant to be waiting for me or not. It's just the ever so chipper, as is usually the case. Oh, hello.
Good evening. The woman says her voice is a little off. Like it's not like it's deep, but it's like there's a bit of a miss sound to it. But she just says, "The mistress is waiting for you. Please come inside." And she will open the door and follow you in. And as the two get in, she will offer to take your coat or cloak or whatever you're dressed in. Um, and she will lead you from the room you enter into another room where Madeline is sitting and she's reading in a room that isn't, it's not like lavishly decorated. Like the furniture is somewhat practical, but it's clearly not like anything really special in that sense. It's it's clear that it's modest. It nothing looks like luxurious. But Madeline, as soon as she sees you, she will just say, thank you very much, Guthria. Please, return to your studies, or go out for the night if you feel like it. I do not believe I will have use for you anymore. And the large woman just smiles, nods, and yeah, she leaves the two of you alone, or the two of us alone.
Yes. Um. Yeah, Mina will have been looking around with a very pleasantly kind of open, curious expression, not necessarily touching, albeit if there's something close enough, she will show a propensity to reach out and just kind of touch things. But just casual brushes of fingers. But yeah, she has been taking in the place as she's been walked in, and finally offers Madeline one of those more sincere curtsies in greeting. And I will shift the picture because, yeah, she doesn't need to wear all that nonsense. And just that winning smile is so much more fun.
Madeline herself will just look at her as you do it, and she just, well, I do believe this will be our first lesson. And she will just stand next to you, and essentially she will begin to just show you how to properly curtsy, she would say. It's clear that she tries to show you a couple of, like, how to bow down and how to move your one foot in front of the other, and she will actually do this fairly off the cuff. Um, and she would just say, and then she'll have you try it, but like a little time passes with this, but then she just says, "Oh, but I get ahead of myself. I'm welcome. Please make yourself comfortable."
And she will find that while she obviously doesn't like to do it, and it's not always perfect. Mina does have a fairly good grasp, like a reasonable grasp of how to do at least a French court style, a very proper curtsy. Um, she just, that's no fun, so she doesn't usually. And she'll still futz it up because, yeah, that lack of etiquette. Um, but yes, it won't be quite as tragic as one might have initially assumed.
Oh, Madeline will just say, "Trust me, at one point I myself was quite happy to throw all of these things to the wind, but would be surprised how much you can get accomplished by just pretending to be mannered towards people. It makes such a difference with so little effort."
Well, she brightens up with a little bit more mellow smile. Like she's got some smiles in there, but this one's actually you could guess it's reasonably sincere almost. And she just says, "I try when it's important."
That is the best way to do it. Well, given my occupation, more than more a diplomat than anything else, well, I suppose it is, what is it they say? Something that comes with the territory. Well, I am glad you have come. You've wanted to study. But before we, there are certain things I must know before we start. And if you do not wish to answer, well, that is understandable, but it would make me quite happy if you could answer as many things as possible. I'm assuming that a good person and educated person like Garnett would not allow one such as you, nor would your sire, to be uneducated in the paths of enlightenment, no?
You would be right.
Might I ask if you would not find it too abrasive of me to ask of your path?
And that playful little glint returns, very familiar playful glint. And she just, in the cutesy evasive fashion, kind of clasps her hands in front of her. Goes, but that would be telling.
Hmm, indeed it would. Well, my teachings, what I can teach and how I teach is somewhat hmm, tied to my road, you see. I do not wish to steer people away from their road to mine, but I will not lie to people and say that my teachings will have some costs associated to them. Mostly if you are on the Via Humanitas or others more measured in their ways.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. We'll be fine.
Tell me, what would you say in the world teaches you the most? What, which actions or which events that affect you would you say is that which teaches you the most?
She picks up a finger and kind of pokes it up under her chin thoughtfully. Still, that playful smile is ever present. Hmm. Find that a lot of things are teachable moments. Though there's some I like better than others.
Of course, of course. Would you say that you, when everything goes swimmingly and you simply succeed in what you are set out to do, would you say that you learn just as much from that as to a situation where you are opposed at every turn, mistakes and failures? Would you not say that they teach us just as much, if not more, than a success?
She kind of squints thoughtfully. Um, I think, as much as I'd like to say that you learn just as much when things go exactly as they ought, how can you learn if you don't make mistakes?
Exactly. A smile is beginning to form on Madeline's face, just as a reference. And she says, that is true. Every failure is an opportunity to learn, but there are so many people, even among our kind, who sees every setback as a stain on their honor, as a they see it as an affront to their person and their legacy. These are fools, blind fools. They do not see that every setback, every pain you suffer, every arrow that pierces you, that you will have to suffer, that is just one more lesson, one more stone in the temple of your strength that the enemy is giving to you freely. And this is what I teach, among many other things.
But she's
Yeah.
still looking amused, and she's finally seeing a little more earnest expression. So it's things like there's a she's definitely going to pick up on that line between earnest and d- less than.
Madeline goes, she smiles now and just goes over and just, this is not any point of enjoyment for me. This is painful, but ever so educational. And she picks up a knife and she proceeds to, she takes it in her right arm and then she opens a cut on her left arm going from the elbow to the wrist, essentially. A fairly deep cut, and it's clear that I'll actually We have a dice roller.
I mean, if you want to, for narrative's sake, say she does yay much damage worth, I'm not gonna fight you on it.
Well, I'll just write my willpower. Yeah, no problem. She doesn't flinch too much, but it's clear that there is some pain involved as she opens up a fairly deep wound, enough to do some damage to her motor function, and she just looks at you and just, do you understand what I require?
And she watches with actual, the playfulness definitely ebbs as she actually seems to be paying keen attention. She watches, knits her brow thoughtfully, but doesn't seem upset, doesn't seem shocked. Just kind of like, kind of the, oh, that's your flavor kind of thing.
Madeline will dry the knife of her own blood, and she will pass the knife to you.
And she will take it, well, very possibly, because, paranoia is a healthy thing when blood can do so much. We'll probably inspect it thoroughly to make sure that nothing has been missed.
There is no blood on it.
Yeah. Just for the sake of having it said. And gives it kind of a flick. She's reasonably good
out of character. Out of character, for it to form a blood bond, it needs to be 1 blood point's worth. So it would be just...
It would be a considerable amount, not a trace amount. Okay.
It needs to be like a large glass around that. So whatever could be on the blade is not enough to form a blood bond. Just
okay.
FYI.
Well, I appreciate that. And she'll flick it and catch it and kind of glance around. And is there what furniture is nearby? Preferably not the finer furniture.
Yeah, there's some chairs around the table she's been sitting at.
How lovingly cared for is this table?
It's a working table. It doesn't seem to be like... There's the usual wear and tear, but it's not like fine or anything. It's nothing that's really fancy in here.
So yeah, she'll be flicking the knife, like not even in an artful way, just kind of end over end, very carefully. And we'll glance around and finally look to the table, jerk your chin toward it. How much do you love your table?
I do not. I put very little stock in material things as that. A few things I put stock in, but not furniture.
And she perks up and with an easy smile, we'll traipse the whole step or two between them and the table, and I should probably have my shit pulled up so I can roll willpower, because I imagine I will need to.
Just continue. I will be right back in like 30 seconds.
Yep. So yeah, Mina's going to casually amble on over to this here table, and in a fairly swift motion, we'll just kind of plant her palm on it, and still, this time with more of a toothy grin, we'll just bring the knife down and impale her hand on the table, slamming the knife down so that she's rather effectively nailed in place. And I will roll to see if she is a giant baby about it. Let's see, where are we? That is an end scene. There we go.
Yeah, I didn't write anything.
That's okay. Oh yeah, she's fine. So yeah, she just, with a chipper smile, and very little reservation, plants her hand down and yeah, just in one swift motion, stabs the knife through her hand and well with a thud into the tabletop itself. And then just kind of looks back like, this is what you wanted, right? Very kind of eerily removed from the process. There's a twitch or two from the fingertips because pain hurts, but
It does. And Madeline just comes over to her and just says, "For such a young one, you understand much, it seems. It must not be a pleasure. This is very important for me to stress. Painful is teaching. Should not be a reward in itself. It should be the knowledge that you gain from it. In this form, my body has suffered quite a few, and I have grown quite wise over the years." She looks at her arm and the deep wound in it. "But you seem very willing to learn. I will look forward to this."
and she gives a faint shrug. Especially in regards to the whole, you shouldn't take pleasure in it. There's kind of a shrug as she says, "This isn't my favorite game." And yeah, we'll let's see if she's a baby again as she does so. Oh, she is a baby. Basically, she reaches for the handle again and has to give it a good wrench because she has lodged it in the table, which perhaps wasn't the wisest thing, but it sure seemed like a good idea at the time.
It is the wisest idea. It is
And
the wisest.
so yeah, she gives the thing a wrench to rip the blade out of the table, more so than her hand, because her hand's pretty pliant. It's easy to pull knives out of. And in doing so, probably hits some tendons and things, causes finger spasms, and she'll get the knife out. But oh, she makes a noise, and it's
And Madeline will almost immediately go, "Oh, yes, yes. Whatever the case, you wrench from it. That is quite fine. It is only expected. But do not lie to yourself, and do not make it go away. Do not use your blood to heal it immediately. Please, take in every second of this as you can."
and
And
yeah,
she just comes over and again, like this, it's not like it's more like a child hugging, like a mother hugging her daughter, kind of. Also,
no.
she as she comes over and just, "But it is all right. Please, I will guide you through all of this." And she just, kind of well, not forces, but tries to get your head on her shoulders as she just like kind of hugs you like a mother would.
And yeah, she definitely gives a proper squeal and is probably cradling the hand. Well, we'll drop the bloody knife because it is a fail, and be holding the hand against her front. And as she's coaxed and kind of, pulled in and soothed, just kind of protests in a very childish tone, be like, "But I'm leaking."
"So am I." And she holds up the arm. "You do not bleed too much. And what this gives, the pain that we suffer, it gives us so much more than what we can easily replenish by feeding."
There's a pouting kind of frown, and she does continue to cradle the hand against her front, standing her clothes ever so nicely, like you do.
Of course.
Um, and sort of grumps about it more than anything, though she's still hissing anytime she manages to bump it against herself or Madeline
Hmm.
in kind of that mild pained fashion, not another squeal per se, but just the pained hisses as she goes, "This is much more fun when it's someone else."
Mm. Oh, I can understand that is probably your favorite game.
It's part of my favorite game. Usually part of my favorite game. Sometimes you don't have to, though.
In all such games that you enjoy, my sweet child, you'll become that much better if you know exactly what hurts the most, even on us. You will know how to better mm, convince mortals to cooperate. You learn so much more about yourself, you will learn more of them, and you will become better. But true improvement requires sacrifice. A sacrifice that I am happy to say that you seemingly are willing to give.
And she continues to kind of sulk and baby her hand, but particularly as her head is pulled in, and she doesn't protest being brought in to the point where her head rests on her shoulder. But she will kind of impulsively, after a couple moments, twist her head to look up, very purposefully, kind of not staring, but kind of studying Madeline's eyes.
Hmm.
And, you know, she'll see her gaze flick back and forth a couple times, um, as if she's looking for something.
Hmm.
But after several moments, she eases off of it and apparently loses interest.
What you can tell is that Madeline seems to be observing her quite intently, and she has a smile on her face, and it seems quite open.
It'll be funny because it's a very like there's definitely a depth to one studying something. And it's kind of clear in a weird way that she's not looking as deep as trying to read her expression. She is just like very in a very surface fashion just looking at her eyes.
Hmm. Okay.
Not studying them, not processing the gaze or the expression, just looking keenly for a moment and then losing interest and going back to babying her hand.
So, what is your favorite game exactly?
Hmm,
Hunting?
making people taste good.
Hmm. Something you partake in with your brother?
He watches sometimes.
Hmm. An interesting thing. You must tell me of that. But we must do this another night. What if... Well, I know, suppose there is many things that I could teach you, but is there things that interest you the most? More than others? Or would you simply wish to learn of pain and how one best adapts to it?
And there's a again, it's her smiles are a little weaker for the pain, but it's still there's an attempt to be playful, but it's obviously just kind of it's an even shallower mask than before with the pain distracting her. I like it better when it's other people. Like you have a point.
Well,
I want to learn what I need to learn to get as old as you and Garnet.
well, that I can help with.
I probably should have shifted expressions because it hurts.
Oh, no. Madeline just looks at her for a moment and just says, there are a couple of things right off the bat that you know of, but Garnet has probably told you. Once you are recognized as a full member, never talk against your clan. There are quite a few, I have seen them, who think themselves industrious, thinks themselves quite, what shall we say, important, which is a normal thing. I was discouraged from such beliefs in, well, more than one way, but there are those who think that they can play this game and that they can do this while running before they know how to even crawl. They go against a clan member and it does not end well.
No, I don't think I'd ever do something that would make Garnet angry. And that would make him very angry. Besides,
that is good.
You've been good to me.
Of that I have no doubt. It is just, I have seen quite a few neonates who would be a little bit more industrious than what is good for a neonate to be. There are very few who can say to have truly pulled it off.
And she, the eyes take on a kind of a more clever. She's not hiding it anymore. More interested, more clever, a little narrowing of eyes. Definitely interested. What do you mean, industrious?
Well, they believe that the loyalty of the clan will make certain people not, what shall we say, in their wildest mind, their wildest dreams, believe that they could betray them, being members of the clan, so they make deals outside of the clan against other clan members, and, well, they get found out because they are not as clever as they think they are, and end up meeting final death. I would just mention that. Also, every opportunity you can for helping someone for a price, you should take it. Simply disregarding something and saying it is not worth your time. You should, of course, know as much as you can whether or not it is a very dangerous situation you are getting yourself into, but having people owing you is one of the best things you can do.
The grin flowers out a little bit. I've learned that much.
Another thing.
Do tell.
Quite a few clans I would not trust in general, their members or the clan itself. In general, I would say that one's own clan is to be trusted and everyone else should be held in quite an arm's length. Except perhaps Clan Essamite. But they are their own little story.
A faint, like almost jerky little tilt of the head.
My advice.
Why then?
It's not always true, but the warriors and the sorcerers of Clan Asamite, especially, hold themselves to, well, most of them as I have met, hold themselves to quite a high standard. Their word is law, and once they have given their word for something, it's actually quite rare that they would go back on their word. An interesting little thing. Of course, if you are just talking with them and they have not given their word on something, well, then bets are off. But once they strike a deal, they seem to be quite honorable, actually, as far as I have seen. And living in the Holy Land, we are fairly close to the Assamites' supposed point of origin.
She's nodding, albeit looking distractedly at her hand, and finally kind of gingerly poking at the skin to either side of the um, through and through hole she's kind of created there. And while there's some hissing, she eventually, maybe it normalizes, whatever the case, she she begins to kind of lose interest in it. Finally lets the hand just kind of drop to her side, still kind of sluggishly oozing.
Why do you think a person like myself have survived as long as I have?
Why?
I am asking you.
A faint pout.
And, you know, that would be telling. She smiles.
A little bit of the impishness comes back into her. She'll look at the smile. Hmm. Glancing down at her hand, flipping it over. I guess she pauses, kind of haltingly, trying to think of a clever answer. Kind of trails off. Suppose you just learned enough of the right things.
Ah, as well, that is part of it. Sorry.
Don't
Ah,
die.
sorry. Just have something in my throat. One moment.
Yep. Handle that.
All right. My voice may be a little weird, but here we go. Never use force. Never use the powers of the blood unless it is necessary. A simple but very, very important lesson. If you use your disciplines in every situation, if you are, if you exert power politically because you can, not because you have to, you are misusing it, and it will lose its punch or time. You
She
will
nods slightly.
Garnet. He is respected because of his status, but I do not think he uses his powers frequently, willy-nilly, just that because he wants to. Neither do I, neither do Ulrich. We do when we have to, when it is needed for us to make a point, but not before. Mortals can be easily dealt with, but easily dealt with by simply speaking and being like a mortal towards them. You do not need to just ease the situation and use your powers by then bringing more attention to yourself. There is no reason for this. There is no need for it. You can do it quite well by simple words and normal actions.
She's just kind of thoughtfully nodding. Can't afford to be wasteful.
Exactly.
She's still kind of. She can't seem to help but like poking and fussing with the now moderately mangled hand.
I must I must ask you, what do you do in this game to make people taste better?
And that's a distraction and a topic that she much prefers. So the smile just blooms across her face again. And yeah, for the sake of the initial answer, she takes on that vicious smile and answers initially with just we run.
With them or after them?
It widens further. After them. It's no fun if they can't give a good run.
So you are a hunter.
Just kind of casually, the totally not innocent shrug. They just taste better. And they're so afraid you can smell it.
I suppose we all have our different palates. A fat, well-born merchant. That is the best for me. A life of indulgence and
She almost comically pulls a face at the word fat, just like, like like a kid has been presented with fucking broccoli. Like, just, oh no.
but I am older than you. I am sure that I had, well, I suppose I did have a thing for younger, fit men at one point. Madeline just seems to be distracted for a couple of moments. She just looks back at her and just, anyways.
Well, that is the best game. I always win.
I'm sure that if they were able to survive this game, that they would be learned quite valuable lessons. Who knows? One day I might be able to learn from you, even.
Oh, she looks delighted at the prospect. Finally gets back up to that proper glee. Her more normal, well, we say normal smiles.
But chasing me would probably not be as fun as. And she just smiles at you, and then you will see that Madeline's eyes will turn. It looks as though her pupil becomes pitch black, and then it spreads out, and her eyes are just two blank black orbs. Like there's no white in them. There's just one black slit in each eye. And she just smiles.
Is this an inherently frightening effect or just eerie by
It's a
being
little
what it
bit.
is?
Well, being a fledgling, I don't know. You probably haven't seen it, but then again,
Nope.
you've heard you've heard enough that La Sombra and shadows and darkness. That's kind of a thing. Like that's something they do.
Yeah, the presenting of a more potentially fearsome like look about her uh visibly excites her. Like as opposed to potentially becoming afraid, she looks thrilled. She actually gets a little more energetic. There's just without even having to move, just there's just suddenly so much more energy in her. Can practically feel it.
Hmm. There are very few things that misses my attention in the darkness, as is with my clan in general. But I am sure that a hunt could be exciting in other ways.
Hmm. Trying to think of.
Her eyes kind of go back to normal.
Oh no, that was fun.
Hmm. Well, and if you are a good girl, perhaps you will see it again. And she smiles and just says, "But
Oh, here's a note. She will do the eye thing again as they go black. Again, it's a very shallow, it's very brief, but she kind of scans them for a moment. Um I assume her eyes are still like they still glisten, they still like would reflect the world around them, etc. Or do they literally swallow all light?
I think they're. I'm actually not sure, but I don't think there's any reflection in them.
Oh boy. Um yeah, she does the skim over again and let me think of exactly the reaction because I haven't been presented with this yet. She's kind of like she got energetic before, like got excited, like almost as if it was more thrilling than really something that bothered her. This time she's kind of practically buzzing. She gets a little almost a little twitchy, really. And she'll do it more than that very brief scan when she doesn't catch any kind of reflection off of her eyes. We'll study a little closer, and yeah, it's not. I guess with blush of health, do you inherently just breathe without thinking about it,
Oh,
or
I mean, especially if you're younger, like breathing can come like. And Madeline does it from time to time. So
I imagine she still does. So she'll like catch the breath hitching, and yeah, she gets amped, like really amped. Not even necessarily with the same careless smile. She still smiles, but it seems to be kind of a thing that she just does. But yeah, her breath audibly hitches a bit, and she very possibly just kind of stops after the hitch and is staring keenly. And maybe it's just a tiny squirm, maybe it's a little something else, but there's some sign of some tiny cue of discomfort. And she'll start kind of glancing around the room suspiciously almost.
Well, I do believe that we should get back to the lessons.
There's a distracted little nod. She's still kind of glancing, particularly if there are any other reflective surfaces in the room.
There isn't.
Yeah, she stays just a touch antsy. So yeah, Madeline will see that she'll be glancing around as if looking for something or expecting something.
Is
Get
there
get
something?
distracted, but she does still hear her and does still nod in response.
Is there something you require? Can I get you anything? A refreshment, perhaps?
Huh? No. No, I'm fine. She kind of looks back up again. Does she just maintain the black eyes, or does she eventually kind of turn
Eventually,
off?
eventually they will go back to normal.
And when they finally do, and she has a chance to scan them again, she finally chills out a bit.
Hmm. Madeline looks down at Mina's hand, takes it, and just looks at the wound.
I
And
mean,
just
is in taking it, is she doing so in a careless enough fashion to actually poke at it, or?
no, she puts her hand under your hand and lifts it up.
Okay, so yeah, she kind of sensibly scoops it up.
Yeah, yeah, not like just grabs it.
Yeah,
And then she just looks at it and just. This will be the first of very many things that you will have to overcome. My advice: stay with them longer than you would normally do, unless it is, of course, to your own detriment to do so. If you are being attacked, you should close your wounds as much as possible, of course. But these damages, these slings, these all of these damages to our form can teach us so much more than we realize.
and yeah, the scoop of her hand also kind of reorients her. She seems to have a very short attention span.
Hmm. But my dear, you can now, please, if you want to, close it. Use your blood to mend yourself if you wish.
And as well, she considers it, and yes, after pausing to think about it, not necessarily just over eagerly doing so, we'll go ahead and expend the blood, uh, knit it shut.
Madeline watches it and just smiles and nods. Very good. Very good.
And she finally like kind of flexes the hand open and shut, glancing down at it, almost like it has betrayed her.
Mm.
And just kind of offhandedly comments, "It's easy to forget how much that hurts."
which is why I remind myself quite frequently of it. A fairly creepy smile comes to Madeline's face at this point. Um, as she, there is something hidden in Madeline's expression that she means that, and she means it probably quite severely. But what that might entail is, well, I guess Mina has a good enough imagination to get a picture, but well,
Oh yeah,
we'll leave it at
she says that, and there's kind of a glance up, and when she catches the expression, um, she perks and readopts the disarming grin, and kind of glances because how much scarring do injuries leave on vampires? Like, what does it take to
Normally it
scar a
leaves
vampire?
none. Normally it
And
does not leave any scars.
you say normally, but considering the emphasis
Well,
that has taken place here, she'll she'll kind of pause and grin and kind of glance Madeline up and down thoughtfully. And
you can't see any scars on her arms. Well, the one that's open right now you can see. You can see the but her arms, what you could see of them, and her face, her neck, doesn't seem to have any scars on it.
but still,
Reason
she gives her the cursory up and down glance, and then the grin broadens further, and she goes, "You must look very interesting."
Hmm. Well, that is true. There are very, very many men who find me quite vexing. And she smiles.
She accepts the the derail with a grin.
And they find me, well, very, very interesting. With or without clothing.
Yeah, but men are easy to vex.
Quite so. Well, some are. Some are deserving of being vexed. Ulrich, for one.
She considers this. Finally has to give a shrug because let's face it, she really doesn't know much about Ulrich.
Well, that is one of the benefits for the two of us, I suppose. Much easier to feed.
What'd she say?
Much easier to feed. Hence,
Yeah, the part before that is what I'm trying to.
um, I suppose that is a benefit for the both of us, or like two of us.
Oh yeah, there's a nod. Those are the best kind of games. It's where they think they're winning, and then find out they're not.
Quite so. Although I would advise you never really. Well, I do not. I do never think that we have enough vessels to casually kill people. You should only kill a vessel when it is absolutely necessary. I can understand that it is probably not your preferred method of feeding, but that is my advice to you.
There's a
Since,
mild pout, but then
since,
they know.
well, other kindred will know. Sooner or later, people start disappearing from one place or another. Someone will know that some of their vessels are disappearing. They will find out what happened, and they will ask some questions. If that one happens to be a prince or person with
she,
certain well, influence in the city, I would not advise doing this.
She suddenly looks like she's on the verge of laughter. Um, Commenting, "If the prince eats where I do, that would be very scandalous."
Hmm. Well, he would probably have his own walled-off herd somewhere, but people will complain, and the longer you continue, the more likely it is that he will have to take action. But it is true, he's probably not one who gets out too much into to the city's, well, less than fashionable quarters.
Well, she's a wee bit sulky about it. She at the very least nods understanding. Whether it's a nod of compliance is really up in the air, but at least understanding.
We have had a couple of preachers. They tend not to last long or leave the city quite fast.
I don't think many people eat where I do.
I
And they
am
kill themselves so fast on their own.
well, that may be true. I am merely saying it because I would truly hate it for you to have to leave this city. You are a delightful company.
Your grin splits wide again.
You and your brother should stay here as long as you can. I enjoy I enjoy your clan more than others do.
Do you? Why?
Well, some would call you, hmm, what is it? Madman, diseases of the mind, whatever it might say. I would say to all of these, Clan Malkavian is a very capable, very, very powerful clan who has vast amounts of influence, capable of many things, and, well, I would also say from a personal perspective, we all have challenges, and yours is in your minds, and yet you can overcome them. So many of you can overcome a challenge that I would not wish to have myself, although sometimes I actually wish that I did, since the knowledge, the lessons learned from having what you have, well, might prove invaluable lessons.
And she takes this in thoughtfully, perhaps betraying a little bit just how thoughtfully. I keep forgetting to switch my expressions.
Well,
But all the same, seems pleased with the answer and starts kind of fiddling with her lip a bit, tapping the nail against her teeth once or twice. I think you and Garnet would have a lot of fun.
oh, undoubtedly.
I'm so glad you're not boring.
Hmm. What would everyone in the city do if I was boring?
Have less fun.
And I very much hope that we can do it again someday. But I am afraid that tonight we will have to, these initial teachings will have to do. I have so very many things to see to, but I wish to see you again so very soon.
Of course.
Would you require new clothing? And she points to the. Uh, there isn't that much blood, but there is some blood on her clothing.
He glances down at it, kind of like it's definitely something she had kind of laid off even thinking about, really. She considers this. Well, I probably need new clothes in general. No, I have others I can wear.
But you have to get home.
Oh. And this isn't the best place to look like this, is it?
No, please, please come. And she just kind of waves her hand at the notion of going out like that, and she takes you like just she goes up a flight of stairs, and you won't see much up there. It's just goes into a room, and there's like she opens a chest on the floor and just seems to talk a little bit to herself. And she just looks at you, looks at some clothing, looks at you again, looks at the clothing, and just shakes her head, and then finds another one, then does the same, and then she just nods and just, please come. And she will, I mean, the clothing she finds is like merchant class clothing, but it's not like it's not even a merchant. It's like people who like normal day laborers who work with like either drive a carriage or like commoner clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And she just, if you would wish to change, you can use the room there. And she just points to a door.
She kind of glances over. Does she seem insistent about it?
No, not really.
Ina proceeds to like comically casually just shrugs, doffs what she's wearing, just whips it off, and goes ahead and redresses without any real seeming care about the scandalous state of her nudity.
Hmm. And Madeline does not seem to be bothered at all. Uh,
Fabulous.
she's. It looks. If the situations had been reversed, you're getting the impression that Madeline might have done the exact same thing.
Yep, that was why there was the question of basically like, does this sound like an offer or
No,
does
no,
it sound like an
it was quite
insistence?
now. It was quite clearly meant like if you need a place, you can go in
Yeah.
there. But like Madeline doesn't seem to be bothered at all. So just
Fabulous. Yeah, no, she doesn't seem to have a care in the world.
good, good. Not a stain of blood anywhere. Perfect. Now I find it. Now I am clear of mind that you are not going to draw undue attention.
There's
Please
a
let me
nod.
follow you out, and she will lead you down the stairs, and will open the door for you, and wave goodbye
Happily.
as you leave.
And
Unless, of
she
course,
shall.
unless there's anything you want to say, of course, before I just.
No, she will just go ahead and get on doing her thing.
Hmm. And as Madeline stands there waving, like a mother sending her child off to school, it almost seems like. This scene will come to a close. Thank you very much, us players, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching. And have a very good night.